As for the things I remember what the light told me, the light said, "Andy, remember everything on this planet is an illusion. It's not real. The true reality is beyond in the light. When you're on Earth, it's like being in a Broadway show with 8 billion actors each playing their part, but that's not reality." There were only a few days left before the tough training method began, and we decided, as a group, to go to a lake on the outskirts of Detroit. It was a beautiful day, so we chose to go. I was swimming toward the platform where my friends were. When I was about halfway there, I felt strong cramps and could no longer move my legs. I started to drown. I went under once but fought to reach the surface again. When I finally surfaced, I looked up and saw my friends on the platform. The scene was for them, but I couldn't process it. They waved back, thinking I was joking. Then I began to sink. From that moment on, I never came back to the surface. As I sank deeper and deeper into the lake, the water grew colder and colder. It was June. The lakes in Michigan are still very cold at this time of year. I was shivering and felt my whole body trembling. I sank deeper until suddenly I felt aquatic plants touching my feet. As I continued down, at that point, I couldn't see anything anymore. I didn't know if it was because my eyes were closed or if it was truly that dark. Finally, I reached the bottom of the lake and sat there. I told myself, maybe now I can use my hands to lift myself up. But when I tried to move, my hands got stuck in the mud. There I was, in terrible pain and terrified. It was then that I heard a voice, someone speaking inside my head. The voice said, "Andy, you need to relax and let go for a moment," I replied. "No, I can't. I need to breathe." The voice then insisted, "No, Andy, you have to relax. You have to stop. You have to let go." I told the voice, "Okay, I'll let go, but do you promise to take me back to the surface?" The voice replied, "Yes, I promise." So I let go. The very moment I thought the words, "let go," in my mind I left my body, which was frozen and trembling. In an instant, what I call a moment outside of time, I found myself inside a tunnel. I looked around and realized I was no longer cold. I wasn't frozen. I could breathe. I was in a body, but I didn't recognize it. I glanced to my left and saw my body at the bottom of the lake. I thought, that's strange, I couldn't see down there before, but now I can. So feeling carefree, I turned in the other direction. Ahead of me was the tunnel, and at its end, a bright light. I was stunned by the intensity of that light. I told myself, this must be burning my retina. It's the brightest thing I can imagine. It's like 1,000 suns exploding at once. Then suddenly, I was drawn in, as if gently pulled by a magnet toward the tunnel. As I entered, a soft breeze brushed my face. Then, in the next moment, out of nowhere, I found myself inside a huge sphere, floating at its center. Beside me, though I couldn't see it, I knew the light was there. The light and I communicated, not with a mouth since I had no mouth or ears physically, but with something that let me communicate, see, and hear. As I gazed at that enormous sphere, I realized there were countless, perhaps thousands or hundreds of thousands, small televisions or movie screens, each showing a specific moment from one of my many lives. When I focused on one screen, as soon as I concentrated on it, I almost magically saw myself there. I was reliving what I was watching, but this time I understood and knew what everyone was thinking and how they felt about our interaction. Then suddenly, once again, in an instant, I found myself outside the sphere and back in the tunnel. Now I was moving toward the light, and when I arrived, I looked different. The light appeared as a huge silhouette, a shadow, just a shape, something like that. It had no gender. It was simply light, but it was very loving and welcoming, and it drew me in. As I got closer, it said 3 things I could understand. "Andy, don't be afraid. Andy, I love you. Andy, we love you." When the light said, "Andy, we love you," behind it were billions of other lights like mine. The holographic light fragments said in unison, "Andy, welcome home. I can tell you, this was the best feeling I have ever experienced in my entire existence. It was more than wonderful to be home." And in that moment when the billions of other little lights said, "Andy, welcome home," I was absorbed by the light. I didn't just enter the light. I was absorbed by it. It was as if the light were a large glass of water and I, Andy, a spoonful of sugar. When you put sugar in water and stir it, the spoon that holds the sugar, me, Andy, is everywhere, and the light is everywhere too. I became the light. I was neither bigger nor smaller than it. I was a holographic part of the light, and I was euphoric. My whole body, even now as I'm speaking, is covered in goosebumps. I remember it as if it happened just 10 seconds ago, not 65 years ago. That feeling has never left me, and it's what kept me going, even when I felt like I didn't belong there. But that will make more sense later. Then the light said, "Andy, let's go. Do you have any questions for me?" And I answered, "No, I have no questions." Because when I was absorbed by the light, I knew everything. Yes, I truly knew. I understood everything about everything while I was in the light. And so we traveled together through universes. I felt like I had been there for years, but in Earth time, that wasn't the case. I was gone for about 10 minutes, which was all it took. Between 10 and 15 minutes for someone to find my body and bring me back. When we looked back at my life, we laughed. "Andy, you've spent so much time on this planet being so serious. Life is meant to be enjoyed. That's why you came here, to experience all you can, to experience life. Because in the light, there is no big or small, no narrow or wide. Everything is unconditional love that consumes you, absorbs you. This is the pinnacle of what it means to be an entity." So after that, the light said to me, "Andy, it's time to return. It's time to go back." No, 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 I'm not going back. Sorry, the answer is no. The light said, "Andy, you will return." And I said, "Excuse me, did you hear what I said? I'm staying here. I'm home. Why would I want to go back?" For the third time, the light said, "Andy, you will return." The moment I heard the last letter of the word, back, I was pushed into my body, which was no longer at the bottom of the lake, but lying on the sand of the beach. Throughout the entire process, from the moment I drowned to the moment I was returned, I never lost consciousness. I have no gaps or dark spots, nothing I can't recall. I remembered every second of that time. When I came back to my body, I began to cry, and all my classmates gathered around me, relieved that I was alive. I wasn't as happy, but they were thankful that I hadn't died that day at the graduation picnic. I looked around and they asked me, "Why are you crying, Andy? Does something hurt? Tell us what happened. What do you remember?" And then came my first big lie. I don't remember anything. It's all blank. Because I couldn't tell them about the light. I didn't even know how to describe it. I was raised Catholic, and weekly confession was routine. I was very religious, but the light, what I saw and experienced, had absolutely nothing to do with what I knew or what they had taught me here on earth. So I told myself, okay, I know what's going to happen. With time, I will forget this. Though I began a journey to forget, but I couldn't. I dreamed about it every night. I felt like a stranger in a foreign land. I didn't belong here. I belonged to the light. That's what I remember. That's where I wanted to go. That's where I wanted to be. Well, it's been over 65 years, and I'm still here. What are you waiting for? I'm sorry, but this experience stays with me. It's with me 24/7. For all these years, I've spent 25 of them searching and researching all the major religions. I practiced meditation, tried different forms of yoga. I did everything I could to try to understand what happened. It wasn't until I read Dr. Moody's book that I said, oh, that's what I had. It took me almost 30 years to realize that I had experienced a near-death experience. But it happened so long ago that the words didn't even exist yet until I read about it in that book. Even then, it took me another 10 or 15 years to talk about it. I never told anyone for almost 40 years. Then I started talking about it. I founded groups and participated in television and radio programs. But what's the point of all this, Andy? The thing is, it was such a wonderful experience that what I remember most is what the light told me. The light said to me, "Andy, remember, everything on this planet is an illusion. It's not real. The true reality exists there, in the light. When you're on Earth, it's like being in a Broadway show with 8 billion actors, each playing their part. But that's not reality. The reality exists only in the light. Just like a foreigner in a strange land, I can say this was truly the most meaningful experience I could have had. Dying on Earth. Because there is no death, only dying, entering the light, and returning. Even after all these years of struggle and trying to understand deep in my mind, in my memory, in the essence of who I am, my near-death experience will always be the one that truly shaped me. Thank you for listening.